Lewis Carter, hello, how are you?
Hello, Sam. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. Three guesses what we're talking about today.
Burnout.
Burnout, there we are. So, Burnout, I mean, this project, how long has it been in the pipeline for you?
It's been in development for a while. So the company Alternative Stories that produced Burnout, I did a standalone audio drama with them. God, probably just after lockdown, going back a few years now. And that did quite well. Went around the world and represented the UK at festivals. But I knew I wanted to do something longer, something more serialized. So I just kept pitching, and none of them were quite hitting the mark. But then I pitched Burnout, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, let's do this one." They already had a sci-fi sort of temporal series they produced called The Dex Legacy, and they wanted something to go out in the gaps between seasons for that, and Burnout fitted straight into that.
You mentioned how you were pitching. I mean, I imagine when you get the no's, your pitches are, denied. How does that feel? How do you kind of spur yourself on to continue pitching?
I mean, I'm used to it now. I wouldn't say they were ever denied, and I think we were always going to find something because we wanted to work together again. But sometimes you just stumble across that right concept or that right story, and all of a sudden, certain considerations like time, budget go out the window because people fall in love with the story, and that it felt a little bit like that happened with Burnout. Not to say that the other shows I pitched wouldn't have been interesting, but I think I'm fortunate that they saw something in Burnout, and we all sort of fell in love with it together, which was really nice.
And it's sort of unspoken, but here in Wales, well, actually spoken quite a lot, but in Wales, people love science fiction simply because of, the arrival of Doctor Who and various other science fiction television programs that are filmed right here. Would you say that growing up in Wales, you're a Merthyr boy, aren't you?
I got a lot of my family's from the Merthyr way, but I was born in Bridgend, actually.
Oh, really? But would you say that kind of growing up in Wales influenced your love of science fiction and hence why you wanted to create Burnout?
That's interesting. I think a lot of things made me gradually fall in love with science fiction and wanting to write science fiction and fantasy. I think you can't deny in the last couple of decades that things like Doctor Who coming to Wales and other shows, Torchwood, and even more haven't sort of played a part. I work tangentially within the film industry, and I do come across people who work on Doctor Who and other shows. So I've been sort of in touch with that world. We recently filmed something for a company that did a lot of the special effects for Doctor Who, for example. So I have touched that world a little bit, but I think more of an influence would be things like just simple things like growing up. Speaking of Merthyr, my grandfather taking me over the mountains by Bedlinog and telling me these ridiculous stories about cowboys and Indians that lived in the mountains. I know that's not sci-fi, but it probably seeded a little thing in my mind to tell fantastical stories.
I think Wales itself is a breeding ground for fantastical stories anyway. I mean, we're fortunate to have some beautiful landscapes, beautiful locations. Do you agree?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of over the years has been we did a Western film, a modern day Western set in South Wales, stone's throw away from where I spent a lot of time growing up in Badenoch. And it just looks like a Western. It looks like something you'd film for a Western movie. And a lot of times when I'm coming up with characters or ideas for something like Burnout, I do drive around the mountains, drive around the coastline, and yeah, things undoubtedly will filter in. And I think you can't deny, your heritage and where you live. And there is a Welsh humor, I would say, about Burnout. The dialogue's very fast. We like to speak quickly in Wales. A lot of the notes I would give during the recording of the drama to the actors was, "This is amazing, just do it quicker. This is amazing, just do it quicker." And that's probably a bit of a Welsh idiom creeping in as well.
Do you think the Welsh creatives are getting enough recognition in the wider UK media landscape?
I mean, some of them are probably doing very well. But I think there's a whole host of creatives sort of underneath the ones that you might think of as household names that are doing really good work. I make no secret of the fact that we're not the only audio drama series in Wales. There are others, and they're doing really well as well, and that's fantastic. We love that. Went to a festival the other day, and there was an audio drama that was recorded in Wales with Welsh actors, and that was incredible. And the more the merrier. And hopefully, as the medium becomes more celebrated, the medium of fiction podcasts and audio drama series, outside of the sort of traditional BBC Radio 4 afternoon drama, which we're certainly not, then hopefully more Welsh creators in general will jump on board and do some amazing work within that world.
I mean, the actual show itself, Burnout, it's rich in these high concept sci-fi ideas. Where do you first get that spark, that idea? Where did it come from?
It's the characters. It's always the characters from everything I've ever written. It's always characters first, not plot first. And I did think when I embarked on this sort of world building exercise for Burnout in a completely new world that I dreamed up, maybe I wouldn't be able to take that character-centric approach. But no, it was exactly the same. You think of the characters and then you make your logical leaps as to where these characters would live, why are they making the decisions they make, and then you go from there.
And you've summed up those two lead characters perfectly. I mean, two beautifully complex rejects. I mean, how did that kind of, I mean, where do you get that inspiration?
Yeah, I only really realized after I'd finished writing the first drafts of the scripts what my sort of inspiration was. I never go in with a sort of message or something I want to preach to the audience, if you like. But the conception of Burnout happened when I was burnt out myself, really. I was in a bit of a low point. I remember I've had sort of 3 life-changing opportunities, filmmaking, writing opportunities lined up, and they all dropped out. We had a bereavement in the family, and my relationship ended at the same time, all within the space of like a week or so. And I just, looking back on Burnout, that's exactly what the characters are going through. There's a phrase in the show, "May the road take you ever onwards." It's like a saying that keeps coming up. And the sort of the message at the end of the series 1 is, well, actually, this road is fast running out, and you either give up or you pivot or you find a new road. And that was what I was doing by creating Burnout. And I think that's what the characters are doing in the show.
When I first read the synopsis for Burnout and actually looked into it a little bit more, my immediate reaction was, why is this a podcast? Why is this not a series? Why is that?
Well, if you've got a spare couple of million lying around, we could definitely do a high concept TV show version.
You're asking the wrong person at the minute for that, if I'm honest. But is that the plan? Is that something you'd love to do?
It's never that it's not a plan. It's just we're very focused on it in this iteration at the moment, and obviously we'd love to explore other avenues. By the nature of it being science fiction and involving things like zero gravity racing, it would make it a very expensive production. But I mean, it's funny you bring it up because some people do say when they listen to it, "Oh, this doesn't really feel like radio or audio. It feels like I'm listening to a TV show or something." And I think maybe that's just my background as a visual storyteller in the scripted medium. But I did go into this a firm decision that I didn't want to write this like other audio dramas. There's not a narrator, for example. There's not someone holding the audience by the hand and guiding you through the world. There's not someone explaining what's happening for no other reason than the fact that we can't see it. We sort of trust the audience to pick up on that, because we trust our audience. And I think based on the feedback, our audience has responded well to the fact that we didn't talk down to them. We sort of let them visualize the world in their mind as they listened.
And with this being such a rich and expansive idea, you said how you were burnt out from all these family life changes. How did you get yourself out of that to create this?
I sat in a car park on my own for like half an hour. And I think I thought to myself, am I just hurting myself by doing this, by continuing to swing for the fences and hope that something picks up? Should I give up? I thought about that for about 30 seconds and realized, well, I know I'm not going to give up, but I do need to pivot, to switch paths, to change roads, like our characters do in Burnout. And that for me was going back to my indie roots, where, you know, back in the day before other people were picking up stuff that I was writing, I was making what I was writing myself with fine rolling media for the most part. And yeah, I decided to do that again, but just instead of film, it would be audio this time, because I'd fallen in love with that medium.
Chris Gregory described the world of Burnout as Blade Runner meets Mad Max. Is there anything else that inspired you when writing this?
Can't trust Chris Gregory. He's a chronic alcoholic. No, that's not true. Well, I don't know. It can be true. No, I think, yeah, Chris likes to bring up the comparison between Blade Runner and Mad Max, and I think that's a really good comparison. People get that straight away. There's a crime drama element to it. There's a lot of crime syndicates which make up our world, which are inspired by real life crime clans such as the mafia, Russian mob, things like that. And there's a sort of almost buddy cop road trip movie feel throughout the whole thing with Theo and Iris. So there's a lot of different things. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the sci-fi genre, is you can match all these things that you like together. As long as it's, you know, cohesive and makes sense, people will buy into it.
Exploring your background in film, fine rolling media over the past couple of years, it just seems to, you know, I'll go on social media and it just seems that you guys go from strength to strength to strength to strength to strength. Why this industry for you in the first place? Why did you feel that this was the path for you?
I just wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell stories for the sake of telling stories. And then ultimately, as is the goal with many writers and filmmakers, we want to make a living by telling stories. So I got into it by, when I left uni, I'd written a short film script as a sort of calling card script, which I sent to Chris Kane at Fine Roller Media. And he loved it, and he wanted to make it, and he wanted me to make it with him. And I thought that, well, this is great. This will go out and this will do what it wants to do. But it just kept sort of gaining traction and people loved it. We were invited to screen it. You know, I can't remember all the places it went around the world, much like the last audio drama I did. We just kept going from there. I'm still part of Fine Roller Media, very proud to be part of Fine Roller Media. And we recently just released our first feature film, actually, which is a documentary.
There's going to be a lot of people listening to this or watching this who are inspired by your story. What advice would you give them if they wanted to enter the world of film or writing or anything?
My advice to anyone who has a creative passion is, I mean, it's not going to be dissimilar to the advice you hear from everyone else you probably listen to. It is just do it. Obviously, there is a caveat to that. If your passion is cinematography or directing, it's more expensive to just do that than if you're a writer. The amazing thing about writing is you can just do it. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's always a stepping stone to progression. But I mean, I would say I would just get out there, meet people in your community online who have a similar passion. Maybe not a similar passion in terms of exactly what you want to do. So if you want to be a writer or a director, maybe go out and find people who have a passion for audio recording or set design or any discipline, and get together with them and come up with something weird and wonderful that no one else can make other than you, and make that thing.
And maybe think about those people who themselves are sat in their car, maybe right now, considering that they might give up on this industry. They might look for another role. What would you say to them to help them unstick themselves out of that situation?
I think if to do things like this, people have got to be really bordering on obsessed. It's not just a passion. And if you do feel like that, then I would say keep going, but be pragmatic. You know, if you do find yourself alone in a car park at 12 o'clock like I did, you know, it's okay to identify things perhaps you're doing wrong and shouldn't be doing. But that doesn't mean you have to give up. It might just mean changing direction slightly or finding another collaborator that inspires you all over again. And that's something that I've been lucky to find with Chris and Emily at Alternative Stories. They've really, really been a major inspiration, and they've been invaluable to Burnout.
We see here, look at all these amazing big sci-fi franchises. The one that comes to mind at the minute is Star Wars. Obviously, that is everywhere. Would you like to make more of Burnout?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I'm in the world now. I hear Theo and Iris in my head all the time, which is not always a good thing because Iris can be quite negative. But the plan is definitely to make more Burnout if people will have us. I'm not one to keep track of the numbers, but Emily and Chris tell me that not only are people listening, but they're listening to the end. They're recommending it, and it's finding an audience around the world. I think the biggest country at the moment is the United States. People seem to be finding it recently. So yeah, as long as people want more, we will give them more. There is definitely a plan for at least two more series. So, you know, I do hope we get to tell those stories.
How can people listen?
You can listen to Burnout wherever you find your audio drama of choice, or your wherever you listen to podcasts in general, whether that be Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere like that. If in doubt, just go to our website, burnoutpod.com. And we've just set up a YouTube channel, which has a podcast playlist with all the episodes of season 1 and some behind the scenes stuff and some trailers and some other tidbits. So if you want to find it on YouTube, just go to YouTube and search Burnout, a fiction podcast, and you'll find some lovely additional bits there.
And I just want to caveat, Lewis, that Burnout is a collaborative production. You know, it's not just yourself making this. So who have you worked with, who you want to give a little shout out to during this interview?
Well, Chris Gregory and Emily Ingpen again, who are the sort of brain trust behind Alternative Stories, the production company. They don't just make Burnout; they make other shows such as The Dyslexia and Wasteland, which are, you know, sci-fi juggernauts. People love those shows, and quite rightly so. I love those shows, so that's why I wanted to work with them. Chris and Emily co-direct every episode in series 1. Emily wrote 2 episodes this season as well, which was amazing to have it. And they play characters. Chris Gregory is Taj Bran, our leader of the Taj clan. Emily Ingpen is Jess or Jessica, the mechanic with anger issues. And yeah, I mean, we've been lucky to get actors like Ethan Reed, who is in Baldur's Gate 3, the video game. We've had Misty Rose, who is a RADA-trained actress and is just incredible as Iris. She's a comedian. You wouldn't think it necessarily listening to the way she delivers Iris's lines, but people do seem to find Iris very funny, and I think that's definitely not just the writing. That's Mr. Rose, and there's so many others: Charlie Richards, Tiffany Clare. I can't. We're blessed to have such amazing actors, and fingers crossed they'll all come back for season 2, unless they died, which would be a spoiler. I can't tell you that.
Well, Lewis, I wish you all the best on the future of Burnout. What you have achieved so far is fantastic. I listened, immediately hooked, and wanted to listen more. Thank you very much for chatting to me today.
Thank you so much. Nice one. Thanks for listening. And please do tune into Burnout wherever you find your podcasts.